Sayori is one of the most recognizable characters in all of DDLC, second only to Monika. But what do people think of when they think of Sayori? Some see her as an innocent childhood friend. Some see her as a bubbly, energetic airhead that gets along with everyone. Some see her as a cute girl who was a tortured victim of Monika throughout the game. But what if I were to tell you that those ideas of Sayori were wrong? I went to a deep dive into Doki Doki Literature Club to see who the real Sayori actually is. After combing through hours of dialogue, poems, and choices, I discovered 5 key revelations about Sayori, each one crazier than the last. When you hear about what each of these revelations reveal, you will not think of Sayori the same way again. Hi, by the way. If you're new to the channel and don't know who I am, my name is... Let's begin with the first major revelation about Sayori. Sayori is not as innocent as people think she is. In fact, I will go as far as to say Sayori is a bit of a freak. She's a very sexual and romantic girl and is not afraid to show it. And she is not afraid to talk about herself or other people in a sexual manner. The best example comes from the infamous blazer buttoning scene. Here, MC is commenting on Sayori's sloppy appearance and not taking proper care of herself. As a result, he starts to straighten out her hair, clean off her shirt collar, and button up her school blazer. It is at this moment that Sayori decides to make a rather interesting comment about herself. She's happy that her blazer doesn't fit her because it means my boobs got bigger again. Now, why would Sayori say such a thing? It comes across as jarring to the point where even the MC becomes flustered. Well, dear viewer, I tell you that Sayori made that comment to signal to MC that she is someone worth pursuing in an intimate, romantic relationship. How do I know this? Because Sayori insinuates on multiple occasions that she wants a deeper relationship with the MC. Again, look at the blazer buttoning scene where Sayori tells MC, "I'm happy we're like this." Or when she says, "If I had a boyfriend, he wouldn't let me do things like this. And you take care of me better than anyone else would. Anyway." Or when she responds to MC saying, "Well, anyway, just focus on trying to wake up a little earlier with, so maybe you should go wake me up in the morning. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge." Or even during the scene where Sayori bumps her head in the empty classroom and says to MC as they reflect on their relationship together, "Do you think it'll be like this forever?" I could go on, but I think you guys are starting to get a clear picture here. Sayori is extremely clear about her intentions of being romantic with MC. Furthermore, I could say that she is so intentional about it that you can see that Sayori is jealous of any other girl spending time with MC. This is first made evident when she asked if MC would walk home with her or either Natsuki or Yuri. This is done as a means to test where she stands in MC's eyes as a romantic option. She admits that, "But I just like to think about it." Meaning that Sayori has always viewed the others as competition since day one. However, she's more vocal about her inner thoughts due to Monika ratcheting up her depressive tendencies, which we'll dive more into later, so stay tuned. This coalesces on Sunday when Sayori declines MC's invitation to work on festival prep with Natsuki and or Yuri and MC on Sunday. The reason being that she would be too jealous to see MC having fun with another girl and facing rejection. Yet, when Natsuki or Yuri are about to make a move on MC, Sayori shows up only to confirm her worst fears. MC is put into a rather impossible situation due to Sayori's own jealousy. These actions here alone demonstrate that Sayori is in no way, shape, or form an airhead. She is very intentional with her thoughts and actions. Which brings me to the second revelation. Sayori is more intelligent than she lets on. This is first evident in Sayori and Monika's conversation about how to get people to come to the literature club for the festival, which you see if you go down Sayori's route. Sayori is the one to point out how boring the literature club will be compared to all the other clubs. Monika, in turn, proposed a solution to speak to the creative minds, quote unquote, of everybody to break the illusion of literature being, quote, too dense and intellectual. However, Sayori is the one to take the issue a step further by looking at the problem deeper. She is able to rationalize that you need to get people in the door before you can get them to appreciate something like literature. Here, Sayori contributes more to the conversation and ideation process than Monika does. Even MC was impressed by how deliberately Sayori constructed her argument and handled the topic. Sayori's ability to digest and posit compelling rationale totally destroys the idea that she is an airhead.
But Mr. J, I hear you ask, how can that be?
Doesn't MC call Sayori an airhead numerous times? Well, dear viewer, I will say this to you. MC is someone who relies on simple explanations for things because he is uncomfortable with finding the deeper meaning within. If you guys want me to make a video where I dive deeper into MC and what people get right or wrong about him, then let me know in the comments. However, I will further demonstrate to you how Sayori is not an airhead based on how she conducts herself in the game, starting with her poems. If you've played DDLC or DDLC mods as much as I have over the course of 8 years, then you have seen the poems of Sayori and the others countless times. It's easy to gloss over them now, but we tend to forget how insightful these poems are to understanding these characters. Not only do Sayori's poems tell us about who she is, but they tell us how she articulates her thoughts. Don't believe me? Let's take a look at her poem, Dear Sunshine. Given the context of knowing about Sayori's depression, it's actually pretty evident what the theme behind Dear Sunshine is with the line, if it wasn't for you, I can sleep forever, and I want breakfast. Now, Sayori gives us a pretty good idea of what sleeping forever means at the end of Act 1. However, the deeper meaning behind Dear Sunshine is how the sunshine, quote unquote, is her reason for getting up in the morning. The sunshine trusts her to wish away a rainy day, and Sayori trusts the sunshine to do the same thing. The sunshine cleans Sayori up by making her rub the sleepy from her eyes, and the sunshine helps her feel like she's missed, like she belongs somewhere. I'll leave it up to your interpretation on whom the sunshine is in this poem, but the important thing here is to really appreciate how much complexity Sayori was able to pack into 4 stanzas. It truly highlights Sayori's ability to balance both complex topics and themes with simple words and execution. Her poem, Bottles, takes this foundation and builds upon it much further. To summarize Bottles, Sayori discusses how she gives so much of herself to people around her to the point where she feels empty and destroyed on the inside. Furthermore, the more she gives with the less she has to give, the bigger the toll it takes on her. Digging and digging, scraping and scraping. Yet, in her mind, it's not good enough for those around her in the end. They were supposed to be my friends who aren't smiling. They're all shouting, pleading, something, but all I hear is echo, 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 echo inside my head. The message behind Bottles is a lot more transparent than Dear Sunshine, but it still keeps that balance of complex and simple all the same. Finally, we shall look at the poem she had on the day of the festival. Clearly, Sayori was in a state of extreme mental and emotional distress when she wrote this. Yet the message can be understood with a disturbing amount of clarity. Her love for MC, her feelings of regret, and the conflict she feels towards finality. Every one of Sayori's poems is a through line of Sayori walking the thin line between light and darkness. She highlights how she sits in the darkness, but has a source of light. She chronicles how she loses that light in her life as time goes on, illustrating her descent into madness. she can take all of these intricate, nuanced dances of duality and distill them into one word: bitter sweet. It is truly astonishing how Sayori does this, because not only does it show her awareness of the maelstrom inside her head, but she can thoughtfully articulate her inner vulnerabilities, raw emotions, and mental strain in a way that is painfully obvious. Almost as if it was a cry for help, because it was. Sayori was crying out for help and we didn't realize it until it was too late. This is something a simple airhead could never do. On a lighter note though, the concept of writing poetry was something Sayori considered to be quite fun. Why does this matter, you may ask? Let me explain. Throughout the 6 days Act 1 takes place, Sayori uses the term fun in very specific instances. She finds the idea of sharing poems to be fun. She finds the idea of spending every day with MC fun. She finds Yuri speaking her mind to be fun. She finds exploring empty classrooms fun. She even says the festival is going to be fun due to the preparation for it and the poetry performances. Now, what do these things tell you about Sayori? Pause the video for a second to think about it before I tell you. What it tells us is that fun for Sayori is getting to know or becoming more involved with someone or something. The idea of preparing for the festival, fun because she can get involved with being creative and getting to know the people she's working with. The idea of exploring empty classrooms, fun because exploration is getting to know / becoming involved with something. The idea of Yuri speaking her mind, fun because Sayori gets to know more about Yuri. The idea of spending every day with MC, that one's pretty self-explanatory. The idea of sharing poems with everyone, fun because Sayori can get to learn more about the inner workings of her club members. See how it all comes together? However, now you have a different understanding of Sayori when she tells MC to have fun and go play with the other girls toward the end of Act 1. Bet you didn't think about that before, huh? Good luck unseeing that the next time you play DDLC. It just goes to show how much more there is to Sayori than meets the eye. It also speaks to her emotional intelligence. Sayori is a very emotionally intelligent young lady. She is very attuned to the emotional wavelengths of those around her and will respond to them accordingly to achieve the best possible outcome. After all, Sayori is pretty much the glue that holds the literature club together. Because Sayori is so good with people, seeing how she's admittedly the least socially awkward out of them all, and I find it funny how the one capable of smoothly interacting with others is hiding her true self, meanwhile, the ones who are incapable of proper social interactions are showing us who they truly are at face value. She knows how to work with other people to get what they want, but it also means she knows how to work other people to get what she wants. This point brings me to my third revelation about Sayori. Now, before I get into what that third revelation is, I just want to remind everyone watching this video to like the video so it can reach more people, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more videos like this. It helps us support the channel so I can keep making videos like this. If you want to help support me even further, then become a YouTube or a Patreon member to get early access to videos, behind the scenes content, like full access to the script of the video that you're watching right now, appear in the end credits, and more. Check out the links in the description. Thank you for watching, and now, back to my point. My third revelation about Sayori is the most manipulative out of the cast. This is where things may start to get a little controversial, but I have enough evidence to point out how Sayori is the most manipulative and deceptive character in all of DDLC. Yes, even more than Monika. With the evidence I have on deck, let me present to you the case for Sayori the Manipulator. Exhibit A, the cookie incident. After Sayori pulls some shenanigans on MC, he turns to Yuri and says, "Don't let her fool you." Sayori knows exactly what she is doing. After all, she told you guys she was bringing me to the club before she even told me. A lot of people, myself included, overlook this line in the grand scheme of things. But watch what Sayori says in response. She says, But you wouldn't have come if it weren't for the cupcakes. So I had to trick Natsuki into making them." She had to manipulate Natsuki into making them. Now, already, this makes it abundantly clear that Sayori is and is capable of being a manipulator. Off to a great start, I know. Natsuki hears this and throws a cookie square in Sayori's face as a response. And Sayori is very happy to have and eat the cookie Natsuki gives her. Until she sees the cookie that Natsuki has. Sayori asks, but Natsuki adamantly declines. "Beggars can't be choosers," she says. And what does Sayori do? She gets up from her desk, hugs Natsuki from behind to disarm her, and when Natsuki lifts up her hand with the cookie in it to push Sayori off, Sayori takes a bite out of Natsuki's cookie and runs away. And everybody treats it like a funny, quirky event. Now, why does the cookie incident matter? 1. It shows Sayori's premeditative nature. If Sayori wants something, she's going to figure out a way to get it no matter what. Even MC realizes this as he says, Sayori can put her mind to things and make them come to life. The moment Sayori saw the cookie Natsuki had, and Natsuki denied her from having it, she came up with a plan to exploit Natsuki's weaknesses to get what she wanted, at the expense of Natsuki's own happiness. Meaning, Sayori is willing to put her needs and desires above those around her. We'll get into this in a later revelation. The second thing about the cookie incident is that it shows how Sayori orchestrated events from the very beginning of the week. This brings me to Exhibit B. Exhibit B. Sayori and MC from day one onward. From the very start of Doki Doki Literature Club, we see Sayori actively manipulating MC into doing the things she wants him to do. MC joining the club was something that Sayori wanted him to do from the start. So, she emotionally manipulates him into doing so. She does this by showing how him not joining the club will negatively affect her. "You promised me that you'd join the club this year. I know you're happy now, but I died at the thought of you becoming a NEET. You trust me, right? Don't make me keep worrying about you. Will you at least promise me that you'll try a little?" MC is more than content to live life the way he wants to. But Sayori insists on guilt-tripping him into joining the club. She knows she can do this to him, too. Because MC acknowledges that he has a soft spot for her when it comes to making her feel at ease. And before any of you try to make the argument that she did this because it was to make MC a better person, then I want you to wait right there. Because when MC starts to consider joining a club and finding something that he's interested in, who comes to change MC's mind? Sayori. She comes to MC's classroom to propose that MC join her club and not even give him a chance to do something for himself. What makes this active manipulation even worse is that Sayori literally sweetens the deal with cupcakes. Cupcakes that she tricks Natsuki into making, mind you. All for the expressed benefit of her. To get MC into the club so she could spend more time with him. Sayori planned this whole affair and had this plan in place for some time well before the start of the week. She is the entire reason DDLC even happens in the first place. Sayori's general behavior towards MC is consistent with that of a manipulator as well. She'll become pouty and indignant when MC challenges her or doesn't give her her way. However, she is immediately happy when MC capitulates to her whims. Furthermore, Sayori always gives an affirmation when MC does something she wants. The greater the thing she wants, the greater the affirmation. For instance, hugging MC and jumping for joy when he decides to join her club. Thankfully, MC is catching on to her tricks. So when Sayori tries to manipulate MC into buying her a snack, right before the cookie incident, funnily enough, he is able to thoughtfully see through her tricks and thoroughly rebuke her. The case against Sayori is slowly but surely building against her. Now, I present to you probably the most interesting exhibit I have against her. Exhibit C. Exhibit C. The fight between Yuri and Natsuki. Now, everyone who has at least played or seen the base game of Doki Doki Literature Club knows about the big fight between Natsuki and Yuri, where they fight over whose poetry style is better and who is more correct in the eyes of the MC. As the player, you have the choice to side with either Yuri, side with Natsuki, or bring Sayori in for help to resolve the conflict. Why does this matter? Let me read to you the notes I gathered when you choose to have Sayori help you out. Yuri and Natsuki dog Sayori out for interfering with their fight over MC, but Sayori claims them to be her friends. She defends them when MC questions her on if they fight often and says that she's the happiest when she sees him get along with everyone in the club. It's possible that what matters most to Sayori here is that she is seeing MC becoming the kind of person she wants him to be. More social, more involved in extracurriculars, caring about things that are outside of him, so he can be a better boyfriend/partner to her. Protecting the image of an intact club will help foster the environment needed for Sayori to foster a relationship with MC. End quote. In reality, there's no solid evidence that the girls in the Literature Club are actually friends. DLC Plus side stories do show the girls becoming actual friends, but that timeline exists outside of the mainline canon. The biggest tell of a lack of true friendship in the Literature Club is how Natsuki and Yuri both disregard Sayori's feelings and neither offer an apology to Sayori. They don't even apologize to each other. As a matter of fact, they only apologize when MC chooses to take Natsuki's side or Yuri's side, and whoever side he takes, the other will not apologize. Meaning if MC takes Yuri's side, Natsuki will not apologize to Yuri, and if MC takes Natsuki's side, Yuri will not apologize to Natsuki. And if you guys want a video on why the Literature Club aren't actually friends, then let me know in the comments below. Now let me get to my closing statements. At the end of the day, it comes down to this. Sayori is shown to be capable of manipulating her friend, manipulating people and events around her, and even manipulating reality itself via false illusions to get the things that she wants. And she does it all with a smile and big blue puppy dog eyes. The worst kind of manipulators are the ones that convince you that they aren't manipulators. And Sayori is guilty of just that. Therefore, I hereby find the defendant, Sayori DDLC, of manipulation in the first degree. Her sentence, unveiling the fourth revelation. Sayori is the most selfish out of the cast. This shouldn't come as a surprise to any of you based on what we've talked about in the video thus far. The evidence is overwhelming that Sayori is incredibly manipulative, and she is very intentional in what she does. Even MC and Monika pointed out on multiple occasions. From stealing a bite of Natsuki's cookie, to her whole relationship with MC, to the reason she is even vice president of the Literature Club. It all points back to Sayori being a selfish, self-centered individual. Her lack of impulse control is a sign of her selfish nature. The way she'll scarf down a cupcake and talk with her mouth full, or how she embarrassed Yuri by blabbing about the book she bought for MC without her permission. The way she would enforce standards on others and not allow standards to be enforced on herself points to a selfish nature. Like how she'll chastise MC for sleeping late and need to be more present in the club, but wouldn't accept wearing a button-up blazer and cleaning herself up properly. However, I would say that Sayori's greatest act of selfishness is what happens at the end of the game. Spoilers for the two of you who haven't played DDLC before. Now, after you delete Monika, and she goes on with her speech about how you hurt her, she resets the game one last time to give you a world without her and with the other girls. Sayori, Yuri, and Natsuki are all here and ready to enjoy a fun day at the literature club. Except this time, Sayori is now the club president, and Sayori knows everything that happened from the end of Act 1 until now. She knows how MC was hurt, how the player was hurt, how Yuri and Natsuki were hurt, and what she did to herself on account of Monika. Sayori has all the power and knowledge in the world and the free will to enact it as she sees fit. Now, dear viewer, what does Sayori choose to do with these gifts? Does she choose to rescue the girls from their personal, internal, and external issues? Does she bring Monika back, forgive her for what she did, and invite her to start over with the others in the player? Does she choose to work with Monika to find a solution to the issues of being stuck in a video game and freeing them all? Things that are becoming of the nice, sweet, empathetic, thoughtful, selfless Sayori we've all come to believe and know over the last 8 years? No. Sayori chooses to keep the MC and us, the player, to herself, in her own private space, just like Monika did. And she even thanks us for, quote, getting rid of Monika. Why? Because we got rid of not only her competition, but the only one capable of getting in her way. Or, so she thought. It's so bad that even Monika has to come back and shut down the game once and for all. It looks like the presidency didn't change how Sayori was. It made her more of what she already is. Selfish. We should have believed her when she told us to our faces that she's a stupid and selfish girl in her room on Sunday morning. But now we have enough evidence to back up her statement, instead of just thinking it was all Monika's fault for amplifying Sayori's depression. Well, now that I've thoroughly stated my case on what people get wrong about Sayori, I think this is a good place to wrap up the video. Hello? Yeah, what's up? Huh? I didn't go over how much of an impact Monika had on Sayori? Would it really be worth it? The video is long enough as it is. Fair enough. I did promise one last revelation. So guys, here is the last revelation I found after playing through Doki Doki Literature Club again. Monika has less to do with Sayori's demise than we think. Whenever you think of Sayori from DDLC, it's hard not to think about Monika. Sayori spends the most time with Monika, aside from us, the player, and Monika is part of the reason why what happens at the end of Act 1 happens at the end of Act 1. As a result, Monika is deemed to be a heartless, evil villain, while Sayori is seen as a wholly innocent victim who had her depression taken advantage of. Now, it begs the question, where does Sayori's depression end and Monika's influence begin? First, we need to talk about what kind of depression Sayori has and how it affects her the first 3 days versus the last 4 days. Based on research I have done, it can be said that Sayori suffers from atypical depression. According to the Cleveland Clinic, people with atypical depression have at least 2 of the following symptoms: increase in appetite and/or significant weight gain, excessive sleepiness, also known as hypersomnia, heavy feeling in their arms or legs, leaden paralysis, and increased sensitivity to criticism or rejection, which results in significant social and occupational impairment. The emotional reactions may happen after imagined, anticipated, or real rejection. Do we see these things in Sayori during the week of Act 1? Sayori complaining about being hungry all the time. Check. Sayori constantly oversleeping. Check for hypersomnia. I can't really speak to London paralysis, so we're skipping that one. Now, increased sensitivity to criticism or imagined, anticipated, or real rejection to the point it impairs relationships. Do we see this in Sayori? 1000% yes. Second, let's look at what Monika has to say about Sayori and what her role in Sayori's demise was.
They may have exacerbated it a little bit, but Sayori was already mentally ill.
During Act 3 in the space classroom, Monika admits to, quote, exacerbating things a bit with Sayori by making her more and more depressed. Monika said that Sayori was already mentally ill, so Monika just took what was already there and amplified it. However, that didn't stop Sayori from confessing her feelings for us. Monika also admits to knowing what happened to Sayori during her final moments, but does not admit to pushing Sayori to take her own life. In fact, she says she wished she could have handled things a little bit better. We can conclude from this that all Monika did was just plant seeds of deception into Sayori and was watching patiently for those seeds to sprout. Now, what does it look like, you may ask?
Let's check it out.
For the first 2 days of Act 1, we see that Sayori is affected by her depression. She oversleeps, she's hungry, sensitive to criticism from MC. Yet she is flirty, bubbly, and being the life of the literature club. Even her poem Dear Sunshine showcased this in that there is still a ray of sunshine on her cloudy days. If things were allowed to take their natural course, especially if you go down Sayori's route, it is very reasonable to believe that Sayori and MC would have ended up dating each other. This idea is further substantiated in the first half of Day 3, during the time Sayori and MC are getting art supplies from the empty classroom. Sayori and MC reminisce about their childhood together, and Sayori wants to stay like this forever. Something that she very much tries to fulfill in Act 4. And after getting weak at the knees and snapping pencils over MC writing a poem for her, it really seems like all roads lead to a happy ending between MC and Sayori. Until Sayori tells us that she's been getting more in touch with her feelings recently, and that Monika is teaching her about writing poems. Then we get the poem Bottles. Then we get Sayori becoming more emotionally expressive. Then we get Sayori asking MC whom he would rather walk home with. On Day 4, or Friday, Sayori is a shell of the girl we saw Tuesday, Wednesday, and even Thursday. She went from cheerful and wanting to spend time with MC to sitting despondently in the corner of the room and pushing the very object of her affection away. To make matters even more perplexing, Sayori decides to leave early. This puts more distance between her and MC and isolates herself even more. It appears to me that Sayori's enhanced depression is battling her feelings towards MC and her typical personality. This conflict is slowly breaking Sayori down from the inside out. According to the Cleveland Clinic, atypical depression is a serious medical condition with potential complications if it isn't treated, including these following symptoms. The ones that are worth focusing on are increased conflict in relationships, increased missed time and loss of effort at work or school, and increased risk of taking your own life. We see this all culminate on Day 6, or Sunday, and the start of Day 7, Festival Day. We see Sayori in her room confessing to MC about her depression, admitting to being selfish, and that her selfishness is the reason all of this happened. She claims that she deserves all of the bad things and horrible moods that she's been afflicted with. She's missed time from school, she's missed time from the club, and there's an increased conflict in the relationship between them. Sayori wants to be around MC, but she can't bring herself to accept that she deserves it. Additionally, she cannot tolerate the thought of being around MC when he is around Natsuki or Yuri. Otherwise, she would have no problem coming over to help MC and Natsuki/Yuri out with festival preparations. Look at how Sayori behaves when MC finishes festival prep with either girl. The jealousy, the insecurity, and fear of rejection. It's all there on full display. Then we get the choice of either telling Sayori we love her, or letting her down gently. One option leads her to want to accept her confession, but she can't bring herself to do so, causing her to feel even more unloved and conflicted. The other option leads her to face the reality she feared of being rejected and kickstarts a long series of unfortunate events. Either way, both roads lead to the same end. MC opening Sayori's bedroom door to find that Sayori had decided to end it all. We know why Monika did what she did to Sayori. It was to make her undesirable in the eyes of the MC and the player. And now we have gone over what Monika's influence over Sayori looked like over the course of the week. But how did Monika do what she did to Sayori? For the sake of the length of the video, I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. Monika is a manipulator, in more ways than one. In addition to manipulating the files of the game itself, she manipulates the people around her. Like the devil from the Bible, she uses her slick tongue to accuse, sow seeds of discord, and tempt people into falling into their worst impulses. Let's start with day 3. In day 3, we see Monika is late to the club for the first time, claiming to be practicing piano. This was also the same time when Sayori began to get, quote, more in touch with her feelings, via Monika's teachings. We don't know what Monika's teachings exactly were. However, it can be argued that Monika encouraged Sayori to lean into her darker, more volatile emotions to draw out more of the bitterness in her bittersweet poems. Monika knows that Sayori is mentally ill and would have a hard time regulating her emotions properly. That's how we get the transition from Dear Sunshine to Bottles. Next, Monika attacks Sayori's greatest weakness, her fear of being romantically rejected by MC. She does this by keeping Sayori isolated, tempting Sayori into falling into her worst impulses, and encouraging MC to spend time with the other club members. The two things that come to mind here are Monika's talk with Sayori and Sunday morning. What I mean by Sunday morning here is acknowledging the fact that Sayori was basically alone the entire day, aside from MC visiting her Sunday morning. Monika didn't offer to work with Sayori face to face or hang out with her after festival prep was done. Instead, Sayori was left all alone in her room to allow her thoughts and imagination to run wild in her head with no distractions. What thoughts, you may be asking? Well, dear viewer, that goes into Monika's talk with Sayori they had on Friday. Monika and MC are talking to each other about how despondent Sayori looks, rubbing an eraser up and down her desk. After accusing MC of not knowing more about what's wrong with Sayori than she does, more of a soft accusation than a hard one, but still ties it to the devilish behavior I highlighted earlier, Monika decides to get up and talk to Sayori herself. The exact words between Monika and Sayori are unknown to us. Unless you're a Vandermelon fan, that is.
He doesn't love you.
What?
Face the reality of the situation. Every poem you write is either an obvious love letter to him or about your problem. It's starting to get uncomfortable. And the way you leave your blazer open, to show off what? He won't reciprocate your feelings, and if he did, it would be out of pity. Stop being selfish. You'll be better off not thinking about him anymore. His heart belongs to someone else.
However, to quote Muto and Hisao Nakai from Katawa Shoujo, if you can't observe something directly, see what it affects. So, consider the following. Sayori is conflicted on if she likes MC more than he likes her. Monika knows this to be true. Monika talks to Sayori. Sayori freaks out when MC is attentive to her by saying, "If you had fun with everyone else instead, it would be so much easier." Sayori leaves the club in a whirlwind of emotions. Monika then asks MC if he's been flirting with her being Sayori, in case that wasn't clear. a very direct and loaded question. Then says, Sayori's been so much happier when you joined the club. I wonder what happened all of a sudden. It would be terrible if something happened to her. MC asks Monika what she and Sayori talked about, but ignores him to deflect from it. Creates a scenario where MC is forced to spend the day with either Natsuki or Yuri, two girls who also have feelings for MC. Tells Sayori about it later the same day. I'm assuming this, but we know Sayori knew about this before Sunday. Isolates Sayori as I described earlier. And lastly, Sayori's reaction to seeing MC with another girl prompts her to say, Monika was right. I should just... Based on these instances, it's possible to infer that the conversation between Monika and Sayori was centered around this sentiment. MC likes the other girls. The other girls like MC. Your feelings for him are getting in the way of that. Too bad you can't make certain things disappear. This is what I believe Monika said to Sayori that fateful Friday afternoon. And when you see that Sayori views herself as a roadblock for MC to have fun with the other girls while wanting to have fun with him for herself, you can see how this inference is backed up by the evidence presented to us by the game. Monika says these things to Sayori, left her alone and let these negative thoughts and fears overwhelm her, and has her worst fears either confirmed or made worse after seeing MC walk Natsuki or Yuri out of the house. No wonder Sayori thanks you for getting rid of Monika at the beginning of Act 4. Monika did more against her than anyone else. It's been a long and winding road figuring out what people get wrong about Sayori. And I really want to thank you guys for watching the video all the way to this point. Type hallelujah in the comments so I know who the real ones are. Now that we're here, why don't we review the stops we made along the way here. 1. Sayori isn't as innocent as people think. 2. Sayori is more intelligent than she lets on. 3. Sayori is the most manipulative out of the cast. 4. Sayori is the most selfish out of the cast. And 5. Monika has less to do with Sayori's demise than we think. It can be summarized as Sayori always had feelings and a romantic interest in MC. Monika could not take that away from her. All Monika did was increase her likelihood to fear rejection from MC to the point of taking her own life. Sayori is a very complex character, and I hope this breakdown helps to bring that point home. She's not a baby, she's not an airhead, and she's not innocent. Thanks for watching.